Hello and welcome to the Inside Stylist podcast. I'm Emma Morton-Turner and you're listening to episode 41, all you need to know about styling editorial shoots. So today's episode is actually from a live recording that was taken last week at Lombok on Tottenham Court Road, where I held an event for stylists to come and have a chat. It was Sara Bird, Dilly, Orme and Maxine, Brady and myself, and we all talked about different elements of shooting editorially, and the room was full of stylists and assistants. And it came about, I do mention this in the podcast, but it came about because assistants were asking how shoots come together when they arrive at a shoot and there's just lots of boxes. They wanted to understand fully how it works. So that's what this podcast is about. So I hope you enjoy it. Can I just say thank you to everybody for coming. I know there's been a lot of issues with trains and O2 and all sorts, so thank you all for making the effort. Really appreciate it, and everyone's very busy. Thank you, Julian, for letting us come. To Lombok and use your space, which is fantastic.
It's a pleasure to have you guys here.
So I'm just going to very briefly explain what Lombok is all about. For anyone who doesn't know, Lombok started as a brand that was very much wooden furniture, Indonesian in feel, and it's that feel of I've come back from holiday and I want to bring something as a memento, but something really Indonesian feel. And then earlier in this year, they relaunched with additional upholstered furniture. So you'll see quite a lot of the armchairs, the upholstered beds. There's quite a lot going on. Have I missed anything?
Doing very good.
They have a whole range of fabrics you can see here that furniture can be made into. Difficult to get hold of things like that for shoots, but the shop is full of furniture that you can borrow for shoots. So always good to know. Lucinda, who just left, is the PR. I will share her details with you so you know who to contact in order to sort that out, and for images, obviously. So that's Lombok. Moving on to our lovely panelists. Thank you, ladies, for joining. I really, really appreciate your time. I'm going to introduce them with a piece of paper so I don't forget anything. Sara Bird, episode 7. So Sara is a freelance journalist and editor with over 20 years experience, specialising in interiors, lifestyle, food and craft media. She has interior designed, written, styled, edited, art directed, set designed, filmed, presented, baked, blogged, reviewed, crafted, created, commissioned and commentated on just about everything to do with homemaking, design and decorating. I can vouch for this.
It's been a long 20 years.
Sara recently set up The Contented Nest with photographer Dan Duchal, where they produce stunning features for high-end magazines, including country homes and interiors and homes and gardens. If you want to find Sara on Instagram, she is Sara_Bird_Stylist or The Contented Nest. Lovely Dilly.
Hello.
Got me my first job on a magazine, so she's very special. Dilly is an established interiors editor with over 25 years' experience as a stylist and writer. She contributes regularly to Ideal Home, House Beautiful, The English Home, 25 Beautiful Homes, Real Homes, Good Homes, Style at Home, and Homestyle. She travels nationally to star readers' homes and to creatively direct promotional photography. She's worked in crafts, supplements, and is an expert commissioning editor, and also takes on the interiors of real people's homes. Very brave. Yeah. Maxine Brady, who's come all the way from Brighton today. Maxine is an interior stylist, lifestyle blogger, homes journalist and influencer. She started out working in the style teams for House Beautiful, Period Living, Homestyle and Elle Decor. She has been a freelance stylist for over 15 years, shooting in New York, Cape Town, New Zealand and the Middle East for commercial clients and editorial shoots. Although her background is in styling, what you may not know is that Maxine is formally trained as an NTCJ journalist and has written lifestyle pieces for The Guardian, The Sunday Times, Ideal Home, Real Homes, Country Homes, as well as for her award-winning lifestyle blog, We Love Home. Instagram, you can find Maxine at We Love Home. Actually, I didn't say Dilly is Dilly Orme as well, so I will share all of that. Me. I've been an interior stylist for 18 years, and I was home editor on Woman Home for 5 years, and then 8 years ago I went freelance, and now I do craft shoots, commercial shoots, editorial shoots, filming at Lombok, all sorts of different things as well. So we've all been doing this for quite a long time. We're going to talk about different elements. It's just so we can explain how it works for assistants, because This came about for two reasons. One, because Sara brought up that you were getting asked quite a lot of the same questions and people aren't really coming up through the ranks like we did. We did work experience on magazines, got our first job at the bottom and worked our way up, essentially. I think most of us work that way. And now it's such a small team on magazines that people don't. You pretty much go freelance and you go hit the ground running. So also Charlie was agreeing that she said, you turn up at a shoot, all the boxes are there, you unpack them, you pack them up, you help on the shoot, and then you go home, and you don't really understand what the process is. It's really good to understand from the beginning to the end. So we're all going to talk about different elements. Sara's going to talk about big decorating shoots, Dilly's going to talk about real homes and makeovers, I'm going to talk about craft shoots, and Maxine's going to talk about the writing side of things and the trends, because that quite often gets missed off, and I think it's really important for assistants to think about the writing side as well. So, without further ado, Sara, would you like to
kick off? Kick off, oh my God. Well, I'd just like to say, to start with, there's some very other experienced people in this room that should be sat here, and I do feel like it's grandma sucking eggs at some point. I started off assisting Sarita many years ago, and so she's probably thinking, but it was down to people like Sarita who basically taught me what I know and gave me the opportunity to go and jump onto a magazine. So thank you very much for that. So for decorating shoots, I've kind of divided it up. So behind the scenes editorially, there are 9 different stages for me, just for running a shoot. I think it's important to know, so when you turn up on our shoots, and you're doing your one shoot, that's it. With the magazine, you're constantly running a lot of different shoots at the same time, and so whilst you might have to park your one shoot at one place, you're still doing something else. I remember on the old days of Ideal Home, I'd have my 5 shoots a month that we used to do, and everything would have a shoot date and a copying date and a chase Sarita date and a 5 a.m. in the morning call that we used to do because we'd be up so early, just mad things like that. But you're constantly running a supply of different shoots. But anyway, so my 9 stages: there's planning and trends, bookings, briefing the stylist, the famous show and tell with the eds. Shoot prep after that, the shoot itself, the copy in, and then the feature is worked on in-house by all the various teams, and then hopefully it's all done and dusted. But sometimes I'm working up to 12 months ahead with the planning and trends, and I'm just constantly putting things in job bags of things I've seen and trying to create a theme. It has to work commercially, there has to be enough content, it has to be nice, the editor has to like it. Sometimes I can present a trend and it's not quite right for that year because it's just too modern or whatever it is, or no one's buying into it, but I'll keep these things running along. So I've got lots of job bags that I'm working on the whole time. My first Christmas 19 job bag I've just worked on that, but I will keep tapping in on those because I need to have a few different stories. So I kind of do a roundup with the teams and we discuss what issues, things, if I present different things, we discuss what issue a certain floral feature might go into. If there's warmer colours, it might feel more autumnal, or if it's fresher colours, it will go into spring. But again, I just keep these stories tapping along. And we're just basically trying to find the right place for the theme, and I say, it's nice to have a collection of job bags. Bookings, sometimes I've scheduled people quite a few months ahead. God, finding the teams to work with, there's not many people around that can do big shoots, and I work on big shoots, and you just got to trust those people. So I'm booking stylists and photographers and assistants and getting everybody on board as soon as I can, and even though I don't have a theme, sometimes at least I've got that network of people that I know that I can rely on. I mean, having said that, there's the occasional disaster, but sometimes I wake up the night before a shoot going, did I book the photographer? I can't remember if I reminded them, oh my God. But anyway, that's, never left me. Then I brief the stylist. Once we've decided on the theme, my briefs are a little bit wordy, but I just want everything to be done. And I don't want there to be any grey. It's got to be black and white. If they're writing, what they're expected to write, the captions, the merch credits, the stockists, I need all of that down. The images that we're going to supply, whether they're rooms, whether they're details, the things that I need them to bring to the show and tell, like the sketches, the mood boards. We need to talk about seasonality. I have a budget to stick to as well, and that's like robbing Peter to pay Paul sometimes with how short my shoelace has now got nowadays. We'll discuss the theme, we'll discuss the colour, the style, the components, relevant shops that I think are suitable for the magazine that I'm working on, and then what they're going to need to present at the show and tell. Oh, and the fee. That's always comes up as well. Make sure we talk about the fee. Stylists will then go away, or if I decide to commission myself, I'll go away and commission myself. And 2 weeks later, I come back and do my present and go run through things with me and make sure all of the boxes have been ticked. And then we present back to the eds, and it's basically making sure we fulfil the brief that I have written out to the die. It's really important that a feature fulfills the brief, that it covers the theme that you're trying to do. It's got about 3 levels of components, so that nowadays the pictures are reused so many times that they have to fulfill. If it's a floral story, yes, you got your flowers, you might have your colours, you might have your textures in there, it could pop into different seasons. It's got to be really, really hard working. And I have to say, even on the old days of Ideal Home, keep looking at you, Sarita, it was always about this 3-layer of how hard this feature can work, and it's more important nowadays because shoots cost so much money that this content can be reused. So in our show and tell, Scary Mary, myself and the stylist are sitting and talking to the ed team, and we're talking about the location. Oh my God, I didn't even mention the location booking. That's epic. Don't even get me started. I can lose days to finding the right location. And then it's getting there. But anyway, back to this. Show and tell. So we're talking about which place in the location we might be shooting in, what we want to see, pull back, seeing the whole room in, and then details. And then also we're talking about which image might be worth choosing for a cover try, and you try to have at least a couple of those, because for the one on the day, because you always have stuff that happens on the day and it just looks awful, you can't make it work, and then you need to have a backup plan. Then you're talking cover lines on what you might have from your heads and cells. With this brief I've given them, there's always a headline about what this thing is about, and that hopefully will go on the front page of the cover. Stylists will go off and basically get in everything that's on the shopping list that we've accumulated together, send the fabrics to the maker, create a pickups list or postal list. The magazines now, because they're so short-staffed, there's one person trying to deal with 3 or 4 different shoots coming in, and they just need to see all the stuff that's coming in so that it can go in the right cubby hole, so that it goes out to the right shoot. So the stylist is really pivotal in this moment. Keep talking to the magazine, talking to the set builder, because they're the one that's liaising what they want to be done where. Again, there's more budget chit-chats in that, and they also then brief the photographer on what is expected to present back to the ed team. Stylists, they check shoot kits, they order lunches, they sort the makes out, they sort any other props and flowers and that kind of thing. On the shoots, finally, where some of you might recognise now. So you, at this point in time, have to become the organised mind readers that you are, supporting the set builder, the photographer, the stylist, providing the tea, goes without saying. But so you get there, you record the location with all the photography now. You don't, God, I don't know how we did it in the old days, but at least you can take snaps where we are. You unpack, you know where the products are from. Again, you can use your cameras now. God, we didn't have that before. Labels. SKU codes. What was that about? Trying to source props. Oh my God. You know where products are from, clear shoot areas, set up shots, bake props if needs be. Sometimes you are doing all sorts just to help us get along. Can you make curtains? Learn. Then within this, you're writing up returns labels, you're catering for us, you're cleaning after us, you're mopping brows, you're providing more tea on tap and more. And then you're checking with transports. Oh crap, you've broken something, so that has to be reported back. And then at the end of the day, or days or weeks, some of you are on with me on the law, Ashley, you're packing up, you're clearing it, you're tidying up, and you're leaving. And then shoot's ended. So I'm back talking to the stylist who's writing up, sorting the credits, sorting the stockist list, making sure all the copy fits. And sometimes I get stylists to do the feature, but normally for me it's just merch. I just want all that factual stuff to be sent in so that then I can then send it on to the art and the subs and all to be laid out and worked and approved by the editor. But the stylist in the meantime is doing her invoice and expenses and that kind of thing. So it's over for her until the layout gets sent out. There's any odds and sods that need to be filled in. But then it's kind of, that's the end of the journey. And that is it. Once everything's done, T's and I's and all of that, and it's gone to layout, that shoot has finished. But then we're on to the next. So that's it. I mean, when I'm calling things in now, I have a little bit of a traffic light system. So when I have my email address of the PR, I have all of the links to the stuff that I'm photographing. I sometimes usually have a printout of all the images on a folder on my clipboards, which my clipboards, give one out to every assistant, so that everybody kind of recognises what's coming in. But now you're able to snap and write on your images. It's brilliant. But the traffic light system is brilliant as well, because you can, red if you've not done it, amber if you've contacted PR, green if it's come in. So it's kind of this whole.
I love that. That's genius. I just write mailed. Waiting. Traffic lights.
I know it works.
Genius.
So, that's the ideal home
Thank you
system. Okay, I'll shut up now.
much. My God, I'm exhausted. Dilly.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, and then a couple of pages on,
Yeah.
the type of feature that you've been doing, there would be a real home feature, and that's what I was going to talk to you about today. And one of the main things, the first thing that I wanted to say to everybody is it's very important that you communicate really clearly with the homeowner, and from the beginning you let them know what's going to be involved. For example, people might think it's going to be a lot quicker than it is. We always allow a bit, what I call a bit beyond a day for a real home shoot, and also to let them know that there might be extra stuff coming. Now, historically, all that we should be bringing to what we call real homes or readers' homes would have been flowers and fruit, because the house should be of that standard that is pretty much ready to go. But sometimes the house might need a bit of help. It might need, say, some cushions on the sofa just to bring everything together. Or there's an example that I can think of where they didn't have anything above the bed. So the homeowner might be kind of thinking, I'm going to get something above the bed, but you have to make it happen like a little bit quicker. But when it comes down to communication again, I think it's very important to be sympathetic to the aesthetic of the homeowner. So when I go in and I'm working with people, I always run by them anything that I'm bringing in, because they have spent a lot of time and money, and it's been, a real labour of love and a big creative process for the people whose houses you're photographing, and you have to be very sympathetic to that. So I always run things by people and make sure that they feel that it fits with their overall idea of their house. On shoots, again, historically, as a stylist, you would be working with the photographer to do the shots, but sometimes you're trying to interview the person as well. Now, recently I've started to email the homeowner the questions beforehand, because obviously they can be thinking about it or even reply back via email. So, because sometimes during those days, if you imagine you're setting up the first shot, and then you're shooting that shot, and then you're setting up the next shot, and then you're clearing up the first shot, so you're kind of doing all of this all at the same time, and you're in an environment that you're not familiar with. So that's been very helpful to try and get some of that copy organised ahead of time, or some instances I've gone and interviewed the person beforehand personally. That worked out very well too. But then they've already spoken about their house, and they might have talked to you about something that you didn't know was really valid, you know, like they've moved a fireplace or something, and so then you know within the shoot to do that. Most of the magazines, they want you to credit several things that are in the room. So again, if you can preempt the homeowner beforehand, that can be very labour intensive, getting in all those details. And the other thing that I've always done, other people might, but I always take lunch along, because particularly you'll be in people's kitchens, and I think that's just a really nice gesture. And usually speaking, I would we'll all sit down in the middle of the day and have a break, and that just, because for the homeowner, it's something that's never really happened for them before, whereas you may have done it several times. That's why it's really important to tell people what's involved, and I always hope that people have a really enjoyable day and they'll have a lovely keepsake of all their hard work, really. So that's real people's houses, complete houses. Emma also asked me to talk about makeovers. So the idea with makeovers, do you know very much about them, or how they? Because there's becoming they're not necessarily in all the magazines, but the idea is that historically I might have gone in at the point where the before picture is, and then I've worked like an interior designer in people's real homes, and then the benefit to the homeowner is that they may have get discounts and so on certain items, and then that's good for the PRs because their products are shown in a real setting, and that can be kind of fraught with all kinds of adventure. But I kind of think that's quite an involved thing to explain succinctly, isn't it?
Yeah. With just going to go back to the real homes, can you describe how the process works from finding a house and like how you get it commissioned?
Oh yeah, okay. So
I'm skimming over makeovers.
First of all, you have to find the house.
But you do, and I think that's something.
Yeah, you
I
do.
think houses are a really interesting way to get in.
Usually, as part of telling people what's involved, you would say it usually takes approximately an hour to do the recce pictures. So they're just quick shots that ideally a photographer that you're working with will do, because then the pictures will be of a really good quality, and it will show, the idea is that you need to show as much of the room as possible, and then it's nice if there's details to maybe have those in the recce's too. I found in recent times the recce's need to be as good quality as possible. I mean, I work hard on recce's. If I was recceing a kitchen, for example, I would take out all that kind of, piles of paper and maybe, the tea towels that don't really go, real stuff, and just kind of make the recce's look as good as possible. Then we talked, I think if you think of the magazine as having their own aesthetic, you would think certain houses would fit to certain magazines, and if you want to get involved in this, the more you familiarise yourself with what the magazines are doing, that's really important. And then you would send a link to the pictures, but I think a lot of people that are commissioning, they don't have a lot of time, so I normally put screenshots of pictures that I say that I've cherry-picked out of the recce's, so that they can see it really quickly. Also, the editors will need to know some information, the people that live there, the family, the type of house, where it is, because always an editor is trying to get a balance between, of different places from different areas with slightly different looks, and then the work that the people have done in the house, and I try and make that as succinct as possible too, because the clearer you are, then that's just gets the message across when people have got so much to do with everything being hubbed as it has been recently. And then usually you have a period of time waiting to see if it's commissioned. You should send one house at one time to one magazine, because otherwise there will be conflict. You have to always double check with the homeowner that it hasn't been anywhere else as well, because that can cause a big problem. And then you have to wait and see if you've got the commission or not. And then you have to arrange a date. There'll always be like these round robin, like an email where you have the photographer, the homeowner, yourself, all, so you can work out a good date that works for everybody. Have I missed something else?
No, that's brilliant.
Do people still do them as uncommissioned features and then take them into magazines? We always used to do that, and I don't know how it works.
Some people
now.
shoot them on spec.
I shoot on spec.
Yeah, and then you
but
take,
I
so
know,
you've got
yeah.
a really good house,
Yeah.
and you just do it.
It depends how strong the house
Yes,
is.
exactly.
Yeah.
If it's an amazing house, I'll shoot
Yeah.
it.
It's a bit of a risk, I guess,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's quite a
And
good way.
the magazine might then go, oh, we would really like a room with this person in that
Yeah.
position, and then it's like, can you go back and redo extra shots sort of thing. So it's a gamble, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you, in a way, maybe become your own editor, like Maxine was just saying. If you think a house has real potential, then it's worth doing. But then you have to think of your time and the time that you've spent doing it, and the photographer's time and the homeowner's time. So whether it's going to work for everybody. So I think there's not really a rule of thumb.
No.
Yeah.
It's a grey area. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Dilly, that's brilliant. I'm going to talk about craft shoots. I should also mention that we've all done all of these shoots. We've just handpicked it, so it's like not one person talking the whole way through, because that would be me and that would be very boring. So I'm going to talk about craft shoots, because I think that's something that also quite often gets missed, and crafts are in a lot of magazines. I was the craft editor on Prima. I did stuff for Prima Mates, and I was the craft editor on Essentials, which was really random, because I did that straight from being home editor on Woman and Home, where I did no crafts at all. It's just, I made the editor a quilt when I left, and she knew I did stuff, and it just kind of fell into my lap sort of thing. But I do crafting, I love it. So when I get commissioned to do a shoot, basically you get asked if you're available to do, I don't know, Easter this week or something, and you get told what the themes are. The first thing I need to do is to get a really good idea of exactly what it is that they want from me. I send the ideas over. I use Canva. I don't know if anyone uses Canva at all. It's a really easy to use kind of Photoshop and something now. It's like I was using Pages and everything was moving, so now Canva I can just do it. It's like a mood board, and I just do pages and pages and pages. And if they want 6 crafts, I'll probably send over about 30 or 40 ideas. And they can be on a theme, so if they want pumpkins that are painted, I'll send 10 that look like pumpkins and 10 that are beautiful and glitter and stuff. So all a different version. And then you need to get those ideas approved. So once the ideas are approved, you have to go and get all the products, obviously. Now, I can't credit anyone, it has to just be the craft, so I would just go and buy it. But if it was for a magazine, I would try and get stuff from Hobby, the paint from the paint manufacturer or whoever is doing those bits, and then get props from the shop that. And then you have to factor in the time to make it, and it's like DIY, everything takes so much longer than you think. I'm awful at this, I'm always finishing things off at the last minute. But I do love doing it. I do kind of sit there thinking, I'm very lucky to do this for a living. This is like, I'm painting pumpkins and that, I'm getting paid for it. It's pretty cool. Or making bunting for Christmas and stuff. Do the randomest things. Then quite often they will want you to shoot steps on how to do craft shoots. So you make the finished product, but you'll also need to have the 3 steps. So you'll make it the very first way, and then you make it a little bit further and a little bit further. So you're not actually just making 6, you're making whatever number that is. You're making all of the extras on top. And also when you're writing steps, it's different from writing regular copy. It's really hard to explain to someone how to do something physical with your hands when it might be sewing and you've got to put this bit over here with that, and it takes a little bit of time to kind of make sure that they understand it. That was what used to come back all the time. Subs would come back and say, but I don't understand this because they're not a crafter, and that's the whole point, is that if a non-crafter can't understand it, the customer's probably not going to understand it. So now what I do is I actually write the captions and the steps before, which is brilliant, because then I don't, once I've done the shoot, I can get paid. So I get props once everything's made. The shoot location, kind of like Sara was saying, sometimes I'm asked to find a location, advise. Sometimes the magazine will know exactly where they want it to be. Or crafting stuff, I find sometimes will be added onto a bigger shoot. They're in a big house, and actually we're going to go in one day, and then another shoot is happening a couple of other days, and it's just different elements, because most of the crafting stuff is quite small and detailed. Then we do the shoot, and the copy can come at the beginning or the end, and then I send the invoice. And then you just wait to see it, wherever it is. That's crafting, short and sweet.
I think you made a good point with when they take, because you're aware that when you're doing the crafts that they're pretty tight details, and so you would probably spend longer than you would ever do normally. If you made it for your own home, bish bash bosh, that'll do. But because you're aware that it's going to be photographed and seen by quite a few people, you're like, I've really got to get this line straight, or I've got to get this sewing line done. It's just...
Tesco's magazine goes out to 6 million people. Yeah. You do need to make sure it looks good, because your name's going next to it.
I know.
Yeah. I do love it though. I think I love the fact that one minute I can be crafting, the next minute I can be doing a commercial shoot, the next minute I can be doing a real home, although that is why I left women at home, because I hated doing real homes. But it's like, I do like that whole making stuff, and it's that whole creative process.
Do you do half crafts?
What's a half craft?
Like, so where you would like half make it, so you've got like raw materials, half make it, finished the shoot, or do you make it on the shoot?
Yeah, if it depends what it is. Usually I, like for the pumpkins, I had one pumpkin, half, like a third of it at each level, so I could just turn it round. Because otherwise I literally bought 12 pumpkins for like three crafts, and then they didn't want just one pumpkin, they wanted 20 or something. So I don't like just going out and spending a ton of more money. But whatever will make it easiest, really. But quite often I get to keep them, and I quite like the keeping them and hanging things that I've made, and it makes your home a bit different, doesn't it? Because you've got your own things. I make nice crafts, I'm not talking cheesy crafts. Anyway, that's crafting. Maxine, you're going to talk about writing.
Yeah, so I'm going to write about writing for magazines, which is kind of often overlooked. But when you flick through a magazine at the beginning, especially like magazines like Grazia and Sunday Times, ones you wouldn't normally look at, they have like shopping pages and get the looks and trend features, and they are an excellent way to get your little toe into the magazine. So that's why I'm going to talk about that today. So why you need to learn about writing for magazines. So you're basically future-proofing your career, because although our jobs are lovely, there aren't that many of them. But if you can write, if you can say to a magazine, I can write, I can style, I've got all these extra skills, you're going to end up being what they call a slashy. So you can be like a writer / stylist / influencer / blogger. You've got lots and lots of avenues of making money. So when you're in lean times, you can pitch magazines with ideas for features. So it makes you more employable. It also gives you excellent knowledge and insight. The more you know and research about trends and what's happening, what's known, you can be considered like an expert in your field. So one particular person I'm thinking of, Kate Watson-Smythe, who writes Man About the House, who is just writes for Evening Standard, or I don't know, she's just, her career has just gone off the ground because she really knows her stuff, because she researches it, lives it, breathes it, writes it. It also helps you spot trends, so when things come in, you're looking around, you'll see people with pink hair, and you're like, oh, millennial pink is going to be massive. So you're not just looking at interiors, you're looking at fashion, you're looking at art. So it gives you a really good breadth on how to approach a story and sell that to an editor or to a commissioning editor. Then you can be considered an expert in your field. So you could become a craft writer, a Will Holmes writer, or a trends writer. I think I used to start out doing the trends for Closer and Elle magazine. So for Closer I loved it. I was like 25, and I'd find like a celebrity. I think I did Friends' house, and I'd have to go and source all images to recreate the Friends' living room. And I love it. It's like doing like detective story.
It's like Get the Look.
Get the looks, or you can do
in.
it for readers' homes. Yeah. If you're staff for magazines, they'll give you a real reader's home, and you'll have to try and find things that look like things in that house. So it's like detective work. And finally, also you can diversify, so you don't have to just work for magazines, you can work for newspapers, locals, you can also work remotely, so if you ever get pregnant and have children, you can work from home. So you just really,
you can work from Brighton.
You can work from Brighton, you can do what I do, I work from India, you can work from anywhere. So it just gives you more options rather than just doing these big shoots, which are great, but it just definitely gives you more options. And also when you do the big shoots, you still have to write them afterwards. You still have to know how to write a caption. You have to understand what they're asking from you, because each magazine wants a caption differently and they want their stockers differently, so it gives you a really good eye. So that's why you need to learn. So how do you learn to write? Well, I personally did NCTJ training, which is like professional qualification for journalism, but it's expensive and it takes a long time, and it took me a long time to pay it off, but I am qualified, so I really know my stuff. But I think KRC run courses, which aren't expensive. You can do night schools, YouTube, practice, blogging.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just going to interrupt very quickly. I did a podcast recently with Kate Butler-Ross. Now, Kate was the deputy features editor on Woman and Home when I was there. And she, I mean, you know when you know someone, but you don't realise how clever they are. And like, she has a Facebook group called the Copy Academy. I shared it on Insta yesterday. I think she's just launched her website, but she does a copy school essentially. And she's just about to launch a course. And interviewing her, I mean, I've been writing 18 years. I learned so much talking to her, and she does this Facebook group where she says, right, I'll review 5 people's, I mean, she does sales pages. I got to do my About Me page.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she literally slashed the whole thing, and she was like, you need more white space, you need this. You should look at your copy and try and remove 50% of it. You'll probably remove 25, but it will be like even things like your Instagram captions, remove some of it. And it's so true. It's brilliant. So I will share that on the group, because it's easy to do from home.
The skill is not getting the words. We can all get the words. The skill is to get the right words and get the nub and get it neat and get it sounding snappy. And a lot of assistants I talk to are like, well, I can't write handwritten since school. I can't write, and I'm like, it doesn't take that. It's just practice, and it's. You just have to write a feature, or just read the magazines how they write. I mean, it's not brain science what we write. You know, when you do a house feature, there's a formula on how you start, good quote. You know, but also how you ask questions. How do you get a homeowner to tell you those snappy quotes rather than, I just wanted a light and bright space. You want to say it was gloomy and depressing, and you know, you want those, how you ask those questions. So a short course is really worth the investment, and you've just got extra string to your bow. And then you also learn, as well as editing, is each magazine has a different style of the way they write. So Living, etc. They're all appealing to different audiences. So the way that Times or Evening Standard speak to their audience is very different to the way Homestyle do, or the way perhaps I write to my readers on my blog. So it's all different style, and you need to be able to adopt those languages and do that. So resources. So when you're doing a shopping page, you have these mysterious images that appear from nowhere. And this is just like one of the most excellent ways to build your career is by talking to PRs and calling in those images. So if you're doing 10 best velvet sofas, you will call the PRs and to say, I'm doing velvet sofas, send me over your options. And what I always say, call them. I used to have an assistant who would email everybody, it'd drive me mad. I'd be like, speak to them. Some of my bestest friends are PRs that I used to speak to on the phone every week, going, oh my God, I need an image of XYZ. And they would send them over. And you get to know what size image you need, what the art team need, like pixels, that sort of thing. So great way of building contacts. So Laurie, one of my business partner who I work with, she was more homes editor, and she's probably one of the most well-known people amongst PRs, because every week she was doing 3-4 features, calling in images. So it's a good way to connect with people. And then we also have image libraries. So there's PR Shots, Homes for Media, Press Loft.
Yeah.
And the 3 I can remember.
Yeah.
And then
there's an image bank on Inside Stylist.
Okay. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Humming. I'm just throwing that in there.
Then different companies have their own media libraries.
Yeah.
So IKEA have their own. H&M have their own. So it is just a matter of going, or Zara, they have a whole thing. It's a matter of going Zara image library, and then you might have to log in to get those images. But it's tracking down those beautiful images that are really going to make your piece sing and complement your copy. So that's your resources. compiling a feature. So when you're writing a feature, you have to consider lots of different elements, comparing who you're writing for. I would never write a real reader's home until I'd been commissioned, because each magazine has a different brief and a different way that they want you to approach the topic. So I think House Beautiful always want you to start. Do they want you to start with a quote or not with a quote, Alison? Don't know. I'm sure it just says don't start with a quote. Well, Home Style, the whole headline is a quote. So there's no point doing the interview until you've got your brief. But also things like what you call in product-wise, say for your shop the look, has to be price pointed. So Ideal Home is very specific about how much their readers are willing to spend. There's no point putting a £4,000 sofa in there. While Living Etc., if it's a design sofa and it's 4K, brilliant. Home Style, everything probably has to be under like 50 quid, doesn't it? So that really dictates on what images you call in and what you do. Then when you're compiling all your images with your words, you've got to look at the colours and the style of the images that you're pulling together. So it all complements each other. There's no point having a really dark image next to a really light one on the same page, or a wintry image with a spring image when you're going in a spring issue. So it really helps with your visual context. So when you're doing shoots, you can really visualise the room because you're working with colours and you're working the way things look. You also learn lots of tips and advice by writing things. So you're going to look at image and you're like, I don't know, it's like an image of a pink chair, but you might be writing about how pink works in a white room, or maybe that pink chair has got teal on it, so it's like colour clashing. So when you're looking at image, you're thinking about how many different stories you can pull out that one image. Leads on to my next thing, which is about snappy captions, like learning how to write to sell the thing in the image. But again, that will come with training. So how has writing benefited my styling career? So again, I have a really in-depth knowledge of the market. I feel like I really know products. I know when my friends ask me, where can I get a yellow sofa? I'm like, oh, I know that you can get one here, 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 and here. Or this is a really good price point to buy. So when people talk to you, you're knowledgeable about your market. You don't just know set brands from set people. You become a bit of a trend expert, and people come to you for trends and ideas, or a shopping expert. Because I've started to work with brands, so perhaps a little less sexy brands, I'm working on Triton showers are very sexy. I'm having to edit that. I'm working with Triton showers, which are a really sexy brand, and they have asked me to do a studio shoot for them with their product. And I can say to them when I'm compiling the looks, there is no point shooting that landscape because magazines will not feature three of the same bathroom as a landscape. You are much better doing portrait shots. What you need is a detail shot, and what we're going to do with that portrait shot is I'm going to style it up so that they can put it as a summer issue, a spring issue, a trend issue, a pink issue, like whatever they're, so that one image could have the potential to appear in maybe 4 or 5 different magazines and encapsulate maybe 3 or 4 trends that are coming through. So it's having that knowledge from writing the pieces and picking the images that will then get your work. When you're doing the styling, you can say to your client, no, we have to have that wallpaper because without it, it won't appear in the spring issues on geometric wallpaper trends. So it gives you that kind of knowledge. And then, and if you do a big shoot, you're going to have to write up afterwards. And I know a lot of stylists have suffered over the years because they can't write, and editors and subs and staff members have to rewrite their copy for them or rewrite their captions, and that means that over the years people are less likely to hire them because if someone can come up behind and can write and style, they'll get hired more because you're making someone else's life easier. Yes, and that's it, and I could learn that's about it. Yeah, I'm going to finish there. Okay.
Thank you very much. Very informative.
I sound very strict.
Do you guys have any questions at all?
Pitching to a magazine as
Yes.
a freelancer, what does that look like and what does it mean when you said you had an idea?
So it varies. I mean, you're commissioning more, but back in the day when I used to commission, you may ask someone to do a piece, but you'll be like, come up with several ideas. But there was no, say with Elle magazine, when I used to work for them, they'd be like, oh, we want this. And I would literally pitch them ideas. There's nothing wrong with contacting a magazine and saying, I've seen this thing, it's a brilliant news story in interiors, would you be interested in featuring it?
Right, so you can pitch without being commissioned.
Yeah, you pitch. So when you pitch, it's like, they are busy people. They don't have much time, and they've got to see an editor on Monday, and they've got to give the editor 20 ideas. The easier you can make their lives, the more likely they are to commission you. So if you can say, oh, I've seen this, like, I don't know, amazing gold coffee table that's, and I don't know, it'd be more like a trend, wouldn't it? Or I think it would really fit into your magazine. This is the angle it would work. You can just send an email and send in an idea, and they can only say no.
What I tend to do is I put, because like Maxine saying, you want it to be as succinct as possible. So maybe put the idea for the heading for the feature, the cell for the feature, so that's all quite short. And then if you can put in a cover line, that's really good. So, because the cover lines help sell magazines, and it'll help sell your idea. Does that make sense?
Like, I suppose because I get commissioned a lot now, but when I was younger, I probably would like pitch to Marie Claire magazine or Grazia, and I'd say like the women's magazines, because that's why I really wanted to work in like Ren or She or Women magazine, and I saw they had an interiors page, and I would just find the name of the person in there and email them and go, love your page, I've come up with X, Y ideas, would you be interested?
Yeah.
And it's quite hard now though.
It is
really
hard.
hard.
I think it is very structured. It's very controlled, and I think the other thing to think about is how lead times on things, because mags work a hell of a lot further ahead than some of the weeklies say, and the weeklies and the newspapers are probably almost easier to pitch.
Yeah.
Of the moment things. I started calling in images and content to UMag and the Mail, because that was my way of getting in and starting to go away from just assisting. But I think with the kind of monthly titles, they do have a bit more of a structure. But that's not to say that if you're thinking 6 months ahead, get 3 good ideas, and even if you're just submitting, people pick up on your keenness to do stuff. Yeah. So even if they don't accept the ideas that you're wanting to do, they might think, God, this person just keeps bugging me.
Like,
I'm just gonna just.
And we've got a massive supplement, and she's pitched 3 shopping ideas.
Yeah.
We need someone to give a hand. Yeah. The more you go, oh, I'm here.
Don't underestimate calling in images and writing copy to brief and just ticking all the tech side of things, the right sizes and images, everything else. God, if someone could just do that correctly, you're saving that person on the mags time anyway. So just take the opportunity to, I suppose, just get ahead and start thinking, because they're on to, I've just pitched July ideas today, and you all know, I've told you I'm doing Christmas as well in my head. So if you're thinking, they won't accept autumn ideas yet because they're not in the zone, but if you're kind of just thinking, I think this will be good, I've seen this trend, just pitch a couple of 3 ideas every so often and just nibble away at where you want to be. I think,
Yeah, I mean, I did a piece recently for, I think, Marie Claire, and because I shot the features editor's house for a magazine, and then I was like, oh, it'd be really good for my blog if I was in Marie Claire, and so I just pitched some ideas to her, and I went online and I got links to my blog for SEO. I didn't get paid for it, but I can say my blog's been in Marie Claire. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in print. It could be, so the images, it's just good honing skills. Like the more you could see on a page how things work together and how they gel, the better. When you come to a shoot, you can see, right, that I know that pink's going to work with that blue, and that's going to gel together.
They're shy.
They're shy. Oh, then they'll be less shy.
Donna.
Just a question about your crafting ideas that you said when you pitched these big brands and so on. You put so many ideas to a person and they might just choose 4 or 5. What about the rest?
What about the rest of the ideas? Oh, I put them on a back burner to say, oh, I really wanted to do that, I'll do that another time. But I've already moved on from Halloween to Christmas, from Christmas to Easter.
They don't keep those ideas.
Well, they've discarded them. I send them, so we say they want pumpkin ideas, I'll send them 10 that are painted pumpkins, 10 that are carved, 10 that are pumpkins made of paper. They would choose one of those or none of them and say, no, we want more ideas. So it's just, they know what they're looking for, they just don't know. So they just kind of keep looking until they pick out exactly what they want. Quite often...
It depends on the title you work for. So some people really know what they're after, and they'll write brief and they'll be succinct about, actually, I want this, that and the other. But other people that, I think, as mag teams have been really, really shrunk down, that maybe they're having more people that are wordsmiths who can't see things so much, there are always, but that's why the slash, love that, slash. But there are a lot of wordsmiths on creative titles that can't see what you're trying to tell. So, but never think that anything is lost and forgotten.
No,
you
it's
can
still
always,
filed.
you know, I've got ideas and tear sheets that are years old.
But I quite often shoot spec. So while I'm creating all these ideas for whichever magazine, I'll then go, but they didn't choose that one and I really want to do that. And then I'll go away and do it on my own and then put it in a picture library or something. So I'm still kind of doing the one that I really wanted to do if I'm in a crafting mood.
Yes.
Yeah. Did that answer the question?
It does.
You at the back.
Hello.
Hello.
Can I ask a question? So increasingly magazines are using their own images.
Yes.
And other buying in from foreign stylists. So I was wondering whether you guys had any experience of being linked to a website where foreign magazines, so like VT One and things like that. I'd love to be in them. But do you guys know what the banks would be that they're looking at for shoots that we would have written and styled that have expired rights on that we could then pitch to? On what forum? Does that make sense?
No, I don't know, but that's very interesting.
I think a library that sells content onto international
Yeah, so do I.
So
titles.
that's an international library.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of them are.
Yeah, mine's Gap.
Is that your original photography there? Because the magazines, there's no way they would release.
So I sell some original.
Yeah. Before you'd have it like it would be all rights for a year on the magazine, and then you could sell it on, like you could sell a house shoot onto another magazine or a makeover or your own feature, and they used to pay you extra for doing a cover and all of that sort of stuff. It used to, it'd be great to get, if they said I want to use it for a cover, you'd get an extra £500. But now they just take all the rights, so
But you can usually choose to take a bit of lower fee because that's what I usually do.
okay, less on.
No. Well,
I mean,
it's how you
commercial
choose.
Stuff maybe I think. But I think now on editorial,
It's how you choose to do it. So I do.
it's your own stuff.
Yeah. So I do a balance of homes and feature craft and all of that, and so I can pitch it to a UK title or someone else, and so that's the first rights gone. But then you've got to realise that how internationally rights work is UK sales is maybe one thing, or UK and US are tied together sometimes, but then it could be sold to Argentina with an image library and you get first use on that, or Germany.
I was going to say Germany. The masses goes to Germany. Pictures of mops. Really random stuff. They do a cleaning feature.
They just like their sanitary cleaning thing. So it's just if you own the rights, then you're in a stronger position. But if you're commissioned to do an all rights shoot for a title, then you don't own those rights, and that's that. It's
I don't know about rights.
Do you want to explain about rights?
Right. Okay, so when you work for a magazine or newspaper and you commission from the top a photographer, because the photographer owns the rights normally. So if you've done the shoot, the rights belong to the publication house. Now, the way things are moving at the moment is a lot of the publishers have hubbed so that it's not just, say, if Country Living have commissioned you to do a shoot, it won't just be Country Living that will own those images. It'll be House Beautiful and El Deco, and they can reuse those images again as they see fit. Country Living's really good at this. They do their decorating and their house features, and all those supplements that they do, attached and bagged, it's all original, all rights content that they can repeddle out. If they want to do a kitchen special, if they want to do a country cottage special, if they want to do a country decorating special, if they've got an Easter thing, this is where what you were saying are the different levels of the images that you're producing. Your image might say have an egg in, it might be blue, it might be in a kitchen, it might be rustic. So if a supplement comes out for all those different things, you can reuse that image however many times over, and then it goes online as well. So.
Does that mean as a stylist, would you then get paid again for that feature being used again?
No. So a photographer owns the rights. The stylist doesn't.
But you
Not
can.
fair world, actually.
But you can strike a deal. So
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
work with a photographer and you say, right, well, I'm going to do this shoot, you own the rights, but if you're going to resell it, I would like 50%.
Okay.
And the majority of the time,
Yeah.
they'll say
But is that when it's
yes.
from their,
But
I
their
think
selling again,
it's-
rather than a magazine
Yes.
reusing?
Yeah.
It's different though with houses.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because with the photographers that I work with, we own 50%, so we get paid for the what we would call the first rights package, and then so let's say I'm just the packages vary, but let's say it's 1,400, we split it 700, and then when we sell it a second time, we split it 350. Okay, so that's the way it works with houses and makeovers normally.
Yeah. I think the only thing with selling different rights packages to different magazines, you have to be really honest about where it's been before, so everybody knows that it's been seen. And interestingly, because of budget spend and everything else, magazines are purchasing second rights features more nowadays than houses and stuff than they ever used to, because it was always about the exclusivity and having the first rights and the first seen images. House will only ever want to have first rights, which is different to all rights because they don't own the images, but they've bought a package to use as their first feature they own rights to. But it's interesting they're opening up this to the second rights, I think, because it means that you've got a double hit.
Yeah.
Okay, the second rights is half the fee, but
But you've already had the first fee.
exactly. Be greedy.
So, I can ask you now. I'm interested with the commission shoots that we get, the decorating shoots.
Yes.
And we press accept or whatever.
Yeah.
We're handing over all the rights, photographer, stylist, and everything. That's just
It's normally.
Yeah, no, because they want to reuse, and when the
the
calendars come out later, or they've got online content that they want to put on, then it's all of that. Which is why we've been asked to do more quick handheld camera shots out on the shoots that we're doing already, so that they've got more images to use from the shoots that they commission. Normally we'd do 7 images or whatever Ideal Home does, I don't know, on their shoot, and that's just to fit the paging. But now we're trying to make these shoots work harder, so that we're asked to do lots of quick snaps.
And they can be used on all the different magazines.
Yeah.
And you want, as a stylist, you have no control of where those pictures are going to be used. So,
No.
well, I suppose it's good for PRs as long as they're getting the credits.
Yeah.
But I'm having a real problem with, because we haven't touched on social media, and obviously for me, I'm new.
Insta head.
And I'm so pissed off because Country Homes and Interiors are really good. They credit the photographer and the stylist each time, and sometimes where the items are from don't.
They just
So I had
need to
bring
be
that up. I
reminded.
just think it's really unfair. It's all very well them using all our images all the time, but if they're not crediting, it's.
I think sometimes they're a little bit, not that they should be, but they should be aware of it. But I think it's, well, this is what we've done. It doesn't occur to them that we're a bit pissed off about that.
No.
The more
It's just
people you mention it to.
I thought either as with Idle Home is their SEO. They won't link to websites that are low ranking than out of. They want you to link to them.
But on Instagram.
Again, I don't know if they'd link to
They're
They
not
wouldn't-
crediting the stylist in a
No,
shot.
they'll credit the photographer, but
Yeah.
they won't credit the stylist.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. Like my kitchen, I shot for Style at Home and I started it all right, and it has appeared in apartment therapy. Idle Home the other week, someone just emailed me and said that's your kitchen again. Style at Home online, I think it's been in a supplement. I get people sending me pictures of my kitchen all the time. It just raises my profile, and then I can just shout about it. I'm in a magazine again.
The future with the images going is people are going to be using more and more, and you're going to have this crossover a hell of a lot, and people are going to be also just reusing the PR images a hell of a lot more. It's just because they just don't have the budgets, you know.
Yeah.
But then that's a really positive thing, because as a stylist who works a lot with
Yeah.
brands, they will shoot. Brands are now shooting more and more and more and more because they want their images. They know that if they shoot a really great image, that will go to lots of magazines.
Yeah.
It will appear.
That's the other way, actually. I know a lot of people. So on the bigger commercial shoots, they will also have a tandem shoot going along for social media with another photographer who's not paid quite as much as the normal photographer. And they'll also, if there's a lot going on, they'll need another stylist or an assistant. So if you're pushing those along and twiddling whilst they're doing their twiddling and photographing, so it's another way in. And social media, it's massive. Yeah,
It's great for you to practice.
We've gone on a lot longer
Yeah,
than I
sorry.
expected, so I think we'll stop there. I just want to say a really big thank you to you ladies, Maxine, Dilly, Sara. Thank you very much for coming and being part of the panel. I hope it's been useful. It's been lovely to see everybody, so thank you very much. Thanks for listening to the Inside Stylist podcast. You'll find all the details from today's show over on InsideStylist.com. Until next time, bye for now.